Morning everyone, Joss here at Powdermills Pottery. It's been suggested by a young person that I should video unpacking the kiln. Now I did explain that unpacking the kiln is a very anxious time because while it looks like this, all packed up and hiding, it's not a disappointment, but as soon as you look inside you know what you've got. And it was pointed out that people like watching disaster as much as they like watching good fortune. Nice. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to unpack this kiln. I fired it at the beginning of this week and it's cooled down enough. The first thing I have to do, this kiln is a top loader. So I've got to take all the insulation layer off the roof and then I'll be able to crack open the kiln and have a look at the pots inside. So that's a bit boring to watch, so I'm going to do that and come back. Right, okay, so I've taken the insulation layer off. This is the kiln. You can see I've left the insulation layer on the first half. That's where the wood goes in, that's where the fire sits. So there's no pots in that bit, but I've taken the insulation layer, this is difficult, off the back, and this is the door in. So what I'm going to do now is take those three off and I'll be able to see what pots I've got. Now before I do that, I'm going to tell you what I think I know about this firing. You always get a sense of how things have gone. Now with this particular firing, it definitely did reach top temperature, which is usually a struggle. But actually it happened really easily, which makes me quite suspicious. But the worrying thing is it reached it really fast. It went at a fast speed. Now speed is not necessarily your friend. For a start, I've got flatware in there. I've got platters and they like to go quite slowly. So I suspect I've got some breakages. And the trouble with this sort of firing is if you take a long time to reach top temperature with a lot of smoke and a lot of embers and a lot of wood, you get really interesting surfaces. The fact that this has gone really fast, I think there's a real risk that I've got a lot of really boring little brown pots in this kiln. And if I have, I will be putting the lid straight back on and firing it a second time. So I've got to somehow work out how to position this camera so you can see what I'm doing. It's really dark in here. Now you always get, this is the front of the kiln where the fire is, and the most interesting pots are always at this end nearest the fire. Well, I call them interesting. It's what I'm looking for. But, you know, everybody likes something different. And then towards the end of the kiln, you get different sorts of pots anyway. So the ones I'm really interested to see is the front, because if they haven't got enough markings on them, I'm going to have to fire it again. So bear with me, I'll move the camera. Right, okay, here we go. I'm going to open the front bit first. Well, I might actually have to take the middle out first, it'll be easier. Now I'm going to take the front out. Ooh, that's heavy. Right, well, I immediately know that the top flatware may be in one piece, which is surprising. Take the last one out and then I'll show you. Now, whenever you unpack a wood-fired kiln, it always looks like a charred mess. So it never looks fabulous until you get the pots out. But let me show you what I can see. I'm going to turn this round. So, there we go. So, right. This is the flatware I was concerned about. I thought this might have cracked, and it's actually in one piece. I'm picking up, this is the top is usually not as interesting as the bottom, And there's quite some sweet little colouring on that. That's rather nice. I think when we get that out in the light. Then here in the middle, same sort of little pot. I think that could be quite sweet in the light. And then we have the stuff at the back. Now this little thing down here, if I can get it to move, tells me that it reached temperature. We have something called cones, and they're like little sticks that sit upright. And as you can probably see, that has well and truly melted. So that tells me it's reached at least 1300 centigrade, which is fantastic. So, but it went really fast. It was far too easy. I'm not used to it being this easy. And if Japanese Zen is anything to go by, if you haven't got struggle, you get boring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the top layer pots off, and I'm going to take these shelves and reveal the ones underneath. And so go down in layers, and I'm going to put all the pots out in the natural light so I can really see them, because it's really dark in my kiln shed. So I shall get them out and we'll have a look. Okay, so here's the unpacked pots. You've got the ones in the front stack on the right, middle, and the ones at the back of the kiln on the left. So I've got no breakages, surprising, but I do have one teapot that's obviously warped and the lid doesn't fit anymore. And then if you look at these, they have some fairly interesting firing marks on them at the front. They're always darker at the front, and it's how I like them. I always like things on the dark side. And there's the platters. That's cream tea serving. And then in the middle, a little bit lighter. But again, some of them have got some interesting little firing marks on, which is rather lovely. That's a sweet little one there as well. So, did a lot of these little jogs because they're nice to pick up for not a lot of money, because I'm very aware that this handmade stuff is not cheap. It's a bigger jug there. Whereas on the dark side, you tend to get a little bit more sort of darky reddy brown, a bit more sooting. And then at the very back, for those of a more optimistic nature, you have not quite so dark. Okay, so there you go. So, pleased that I didn't get any breakages, pleased that it reached temperature. I mean, they're okay, some of them are very nice. I think next time I would burn a bit more wood, and even if I'm at top temperature, keep going a little bit longer, which I did a bit of, but I could have done some more of. But unfortunately, you make those decisions at 2 o'clock in the morning when you've been up for nearly 24 hours. So, there you go. A kiln unpack. And I'm now going to price them up and put them in there. Thank you for watching.